By now you have probably seen this table, you have probably read a lot of discussion about this table, and in this video I'm going to share my opinion about what I do believe we are seeing here. If you don't know what this is from the Korean patch notes that were published on Monday, and basically the game now is capping stats depending on the content you are playing. The smaller the content, the smaller the cap. Okay? For hit, for evasion, for critical endurance, etc. For everything related to PvP. Some people believe that these numbers are hard capped to the actual stats. And some other people believe that it's the difference, okay? I'm pretty sure it's not talking about the actual cap to the stat. Why? Because if that was the reason, we would already know about this from Korea, okay? I have been waiting to post this video this whole week because I was waiting for feedback from Korea, but still we don't have anything. And if it was a hard cap, for example, 2250 maximum evasion, that was so easy to test in arena, and we don't know that, okay? So I'm pretty sure it's not a hard cap. I think it's the difference. But here starts the dilemma. Okay, if it's the difference, what do these minimum columns really mean? And this, I think, and here is where my opinion starts, I think this table may be wrong. I'm going to explain you why. But first, we need to make some assumptions. And this is quite important to understand everything in this video. In theory, this is the formula used by the game. This has been the same formula since the beginning of the game. People here in Maxroar post that and everyone believes that this is true. Personally, I hardly believe that someone has spent hours and hours and hours doing several thousands of tests to actually verify that this is the formula, okay? In fact, at the beginning here, they say that the formulas may be outdated, okay? So, for this video, I'm going to assume that this is the formula. The one that you already know, 500 difference between one stat and the other means 33% chance. 1,000 difference means 50%. 1,500 means 60%. 2,000 difference means 60%, and so on. Okay, diminishing returns, the wider is the gap. The other formula is this for the CCs, okay? Again, I'm going to assume that this is correct. We don't really know, we don't have official confirmation about this, but let's assume, okay? So, why I believe that this table is not correct? Because according to the formulas, and according to what we know about the game, when hit is the same as evasion, we have 100% chance, okay? When heavy attack evasion is the same as heavy attack chance, we don't receive heavy attack damage at all. So, I think if the formulas are correct, this column over here, okay, and this column over here doesn't make any sense. And they are just leading to confusion, okay? So basically, what I understand from this table is that they are capping the maximum evasion to, depending on the content, for example, for Battleground, 3,000, okay? That means that we get at max about 75% chance of evading an attack. Okay? And this minimum over here doesn't mean anything, because as I was saying, we can say that hit evasion and heavy attack evasion works just in one direction, okay, on the positive numbers. By contrast, what's the difference with critical and endurance, or CC chance and CC resistance? The critical and endurance formula works in both ways. When the number is positive, we are boosting the critical, right? If we have 500 more critical than our opponent's endurance, we have a 33.3% chance of landing a critical attack. By contrast, if our opponent's endurance is 500 more than our critical, they have 33.3% chance of receiving a glancing blow, an attack in which the minimum base damage is used. So in this scenario, a minimum makes sense, because, for example, talking about battlegrounds, we can have at max 3000 more critical than our opponent's endurance, okay? But by contrast, our opponents may have at max 2000 endurance over our critical. Therefore, they are basically saying, okay, we are capping critical attacks to 75% maximum. Again, I think 3000 difference was 75%. I don't recall right now, but I think it was that. And they are saying, in case of glancing blow, we are limiting them to 66% of the attacks, okay? So, in this scenario, in this case, a minimum makes sense. The same for CC. What's going on with the CCs? Basically, every CC skill has a base probability. And then, depending on whether we have more chance than our opponent's resistance or less chance than our opponent's resistance, that base probability will increase or decrease. So that's what they are doing here, okay? Basically, they are saying the maximum difference that you may have between chance and evasion, in other words, the maximum chance you can have over your opponent's resistance is, for example here, 1200. That means that the base skill, the base probability of the skill can be boosted as much as 53% or something like that, okay? By contrast, the maximum difference between resistance and chance, in other words, the maximum resistance you can have over your opponent's chance is 800. That means that your opponent's base probability of the CC skill will be reduced for as much as, 45%, 43%, something like that, okay? So this is what I believe this table means. Minimum for the stats involving evasion is irrelevant, because as soon as the hit is the same as evasion, we are hitting 100% of the time, and it only applies for critical and endurance and CC chance and CC resistance. Again, all of this is assuming that this formula for CCs and this formula for hit and evasion, or for critical, or every formula is basically the same, are correct, which I believe it may not, okay? Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.